It is the Sophie Martin Show on New HD, here with one of our very good longtime friends and greatest drummer of all time, Liberty Devitto. So, what was life like growing up in New York City?
Life was like, well, I was born in New York City. I grew up on Long Island, hence the Billy Joel connection, the whole Long Island thing. And, that was like 70 years ago growing up. But it was wonderful. Long Island was a place where it was almost untouched when we moved out there. We used to play in the woods. We'd play guns in the woods. We'd have dirt bomb fights, and we'd walk out to the bay and go fishing and clamming and stuff like that. I know it's not like that anymore, but it was a wonderful time to grow up.
What inspired you to become a musician?
Well, I always loved music. When I was a kid, around 8 or even younger than that, I used to listen to the radio. We always had transistor radios that you used to put by your head and your pillow when you went to sleep. They were really small, about this big, and I used to listen to music all the time. And I loved old songs like by Dion and the Belmonts, the Orlons, people like that, the Four Seasons. I love that kind of music. But when the Beatles came on the Ed Sullivan Show, I said, I want to do that. I want to be in a band with my friends and travel around the world and make music. That really got me inspired.
Are there any instruments that you've always wanted to learn how to play?
Yes, I always say that if I could come back and be reincarnated, this time I would take up the Hammond organ, because I think the Hammond organ has so much power when you play the organ. It has that double keyboard and it's hooked up to that Leslie cabinet and it spins around, and I've always been fascinated by the Hammond organ. You get so many sounds out of it. I love that instrument.
Are you looking forward to doing concert tours and live performances when it's safe to do so?
Yes, I can't wait to do it. I'm actually in the studio every now and then recording with people, but the situation is different because the studio is very big. You wear your mask, and when I get behind the drums, I'm far enough away from people that I could actually take the mask off. But playing live, I could see where that would be really tough. Uh, I told your dad before that my band, the Slim Kings, has done a live from Daryl's house, but it was over the internet. And there was only the three of us, the Slim Kings, and the two engineers were in a booth. So that was good. There was no audience. It's really strange playing to no audience. We do these parking lot gigs. Before the winter came up here in Long Island, with the Lords of 52nd Street, we did parking lot gigs. And instead of people clapping after the song, they blow their horns on their cars because they're listening through their radios. It's just a weird thing to have that, not have an audience, a live audience in front of you.
Who are some of your favorite people to meet and work with?
This guy named Zach Martin was my favorites. Now, well, I played with Paul McCartney from the Beatles, when I was in 1980, whatever. And that was amazing to me because, like him and Stevie Nicks, when you grow up hearing those tunes and those vocals, those voices come through the radio, and then you're sitting there playing your instrument and you have your headphones on, and now those voices are coming through your headphones, and you look up and they're standing right there. It's really an amazing thing, and it really takes you back to your childhood of how much you love music and listening to that kind of stuff, and how appreciative you get that you're actually in that seat now playing with those people. I love it.
What was the coolest thing that has happened to you, and what's up next?
The coolest thing that's ever happened to me?
Hmm.
The coolest thing that's ever happened to me was, well, there's a lot of cool things that happen in the musical career, but one of the coolest things that's ever happened to me is there's an organization in New Jersey, as a matter of fact, where you live. It's called Little Kids Rock. And they take instruments and they bring them into the schools in the underprivileged areas where the music curriculum has been taken out. They bring instruments to the kids and they give them free lessons. And like, say, if the kid wants to learn a guitar, if he sticks with the lessons for a year, he gets to keep that guitar, And I go in there sometimes and I talk to them about music. And it was great to play at Madison Square Garden, and it's great to win Grammys and stuff like that and get gold albums. But there's nothing like handing a kid a pair of drumsticks and saying, "Here, you can keep these," or sit on a set of drums and go, "Yeah, you can play these whenever you want." The face on the kid is like the precious. It's precious. It's worth more than anything. I love doing that.
How did it feel to write the book Life, Billy, and the Pursuit of Happiness?
It was a labor of love. It's very hard to write a book about yourself, you know. But it was good. I got a lot out. I always feel like everybody thinks that when you see American Idol, somebody comes on and they audition for 4 people, and it's like, yeah, and then they get a record deal and they become famous. It's not like that in real life. It's like you have to pay your dues. This book goes back to my grandparents coming from Italy, and then how did they came over poor, nothing. My father, when he was working 2 jobs every day to support me and my family. And then how did that become the one kid becomes the drummer of one of the most popular single artists in the world? It took a lot. There's a lot of roads I had to travel down. Some of them were dark, but most of them were good, and they were a lot of fun. But you have to pay your dues before you become famous. I mean, your dad has paid his dues. We know that, right?
Yes. Do you have a specific genre of music that you like to listen to?
Well, I like old school R&B. Yeah, that's what I like. I like like Aretha Franklin, and I like those old school guys with the Temptations and Motown, all that kind of stuff. Al Green. That's my favorite kind of music.
How did the pandemic affect everything going on in your career?
Well, it put a stop to everything playing live. It was like, boom, stopped. And, there's one thing I found out about the pandemic. When we had to isolate, like for the 2 months in the beginning, remember, nobody could go out and everything like that. I always said that, when you meet somebody and you fall in love and you look at them and you say, I could live on a desert island with you, just you and me alone. Well, those 2 months proved it. If you were married and you were in a house with somebody or with your children or whoever you were with for those 2 months, if you survive those 2 months, you can live with them forever.
And before we wrap up the show, we have one bonus question for you. So, what's your favorite food to eat?
My favorite food to eat? You mean what kind of food, like Italian or Chinese? My
Or
favorite
just
is
uh, or just anything in general, yes.
my favorite is Italian food. I love spaghetti. I just love it.